Assalamu alaikum viewers and good afternoon. I am your host Nadeem Qureshi. On behalf of SIPD, I welcome you all to our education webinar. Today's webinar's topic is Bridging Gaps in Science Education through STEAM. Before we actually start talking about our topic, I would like to introduce the objectives of the webinar. As you can see, today's topic, Bridging Gaps in Science Education. Let me introduce with the objective of our webinar. Reflecting on existing teaching practices, learning situation of science subjects in schools. This is the first objective of our webinar. Why STEAM education is needed in our schools? That's what we would be discussing during the webinar. We would be, of course, watching a video on STEAM education for developing our understanding. Next in our webinar will be discussion on how teachers can start teaching STEAM in their classroom. And then on conclusion, we would be having question and answer session. Viewers, before we start our discussion on the topic, I would like to do a preamble exercise, a sort of reflection by asking two questions. As a preamble exercise, we have to ask ourselves the following questions. Do we teach our students to pass their exams, or do we teach them to prepare for their life? These are the two questions we have to reflect on. If you go with the first question, then perhaps you would not be thinking about your practices, and you would be much contented, you would be much satisfied with whatever is going on. That means we are very much satisfied with what is going on, the way we are teaching, the type of environment we have in our schools. If you go with the second question, do we teach them to prepare for their life? Then there are other things which comes in our mind. Suppose we teach them for rapidly changing world. Of course, we teach them for rapidly changing world. For the last 4-5 years, especially post-COVID situation, we have observed, we have experienced that in every walk of life, the things were upside down, and it had a greater impact on our social life. The most neglected area, the most suffered area in our life was education. So we have to connect ourselves and our students to outer world. If we teach them for rapidly changing world, this is what we can do. And if we want to connect ourselves and our students to the outer world, what can be done? What is possible? So we have to break the traditional barriers of thinking and teaching in isolation. You see, at times we are very much confined to our classroom and our school boundaries. So if you want to break the traditional barriers of thinking and teaching in isolation, so what you have to do? We have to relate our teaching and student experiences with our own observation and experiences. During our teaching, if we if we ask students about their experiences, if we ask about their own observations, this is only possible when we start making linkages of their learning and our teachings. So when we talk about STEAM, STEAM is an interdisciplinary approach to learning that removes traditional barriers, separating in four disciplines of science. As I have discussed that in schools, quite often we are tend to remain in our subjects and teaching and worrying about our own subjects and not having any coordination with our colleagues, since we are teaching in discrete boxes without any coordination, without any linkages. So, in order to develop our understanding about STEAM education, which stands for science, technology, engineering, and of course, arts and math, which is STEAM. So, what we can do? So, in order to consolidate our understanding about STEAM, let's watch a video.
Providing students with the knowledge and skills necessary to succeed in a rapidly changing world is the key to their success. STEAM, or science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, is a modern approach to that, focusing on valuing the learning process as much as the results.
Many schools incorporated STEAM education in its curriculum across the school day to basically increase innovative learning opportunities for students across all levels.
STEAM is basically bringing together many different content areas that traditionally have been siloed and separated. We hope that it will provide a better educational context, better context for kids to learn all of the different disciplines, see the interconnections between science and math, between engineering and and science and technology. And they've added the A in there, actually, which is an important piece. The A is for art, so it's STEM and STEAM. So to add to what's normally a mechanical kind of set of disciplines that can connect, that can allow for a lot more different types of learners to engage. But
The school has incorporated design thinking and the Stanford design process into the STEAM education to provide a solution-based approach to solving problems.
It allows our kids to take a in the problem-solving process. It's not spoon feeding or memorizing countless facts. It truly is taking and looking at something and trying to find out the answers of why. It's very something. If someone tells me how to do it, the answer, not really learn. I want to learn how to do it so I'm not struggling to. Because if someone's not there to tell me the answer, then I'm just going to be struggling.
no matter what job they go to when they graduate, we want kids to be in that area where there's no right or wrong answer, there's no way to do it, and to be able to work through that, problem solve through that. So it's critical thinking. That's where all of these things can come together in that messy process.
You want them to fail, and you don't mean that to the past, but we mean that when you make a mistake, it's good because then you can say, okay, that didn't work out. What could I do different? And then engaging them in that process and in that thinking, and then discussing the past, what went well, what didn't. They are coming across problems they didn't anticipate, and then having that opportunity to do that trial and error. And, okay, this isn't working, so we need to go this route. Let's try this. And if that doesn't work, keep trying it again. That growth mindset piece is very much built into all of this process. My students need to have test taking skills, absolutely, but they also need to be trained for something, which is thinking out of the box.
Mountain View has partnered with Shadow Ridge High School to help bring some of the engineering, architecture, and digital media career and technical education programs to the students.
And they're basically trying to set up means for those programs to sort of find their way into a low stakes kind of fun way for kids to explore. If you look at the statistics across the country, not a lot of women go into the engineering fields. And the hope here is that through the iExplore Lab, they can set up a kind of playground where they can sort of get their feet wet with some of these things and realize it's not as intimidating as it should be. Maybe this is something I want to go into. And with the need that there is for girls to go into STEM, maybe it could be that piece that's going to make them decide to go that direction and fill that huge gap.
Mountain View has also partnered with MCESA, or the Maricopa County Education Service Agency, and the 21st Century Specialists in the district to ensure staff get the professional development training they need to be successful.
Our school's been blessed in having an opportunity to work with MCESA and go through STEM leadership programs and trainings with them to learn from them, to draw from them, and bring resources in that help us better prepare our students for the world that's out there.
One of the problems that most teachers have is, how do I take what I normally have taught in silos and take it out of silos and put it together into something that's more meaningful? How do I attach it to the real world? And a lot of teachers have a little bit more trouble with that. But what we're seeing is when they're doing it, experimenting with it, they're having success, and they're really enjoying that success. And we're seeing the kids have a great time with it. And we're seeing the learning be a lot more meaningful to the students.
Daring students to be wrong, to listen to the opinions of other students, to try many different ideas, and create solutions based on real life is the foundation for the STEAM educational approach at Mountain View School.
It makes the students more want to do like science and technology, so smarter stuff to do. And I think that's a great thing to send kids. They grow up learning. It's what they do.
They literally are more engaged in their learning. They're excited about it. They love the idea of being able to support the world in a more positive way as well.
I don't want to teach my kids to think the way I think. I want them to think for themselves. I want them to learn for themselves. Do I guide them? Do I give them the resources? Do I pose them a question and make them figure out their answers for themselves? Absolutely. That's what good education and defining that.
Providing students with the knowledge and
we discuss. So when we discuss these things, so we have different question in our mind. After this, watching this video, you must be having something in your mind, and you must be thinking about so impression and sort of queries you must be having. So if we have the responses you have about the video, we would be sharing with our discussion. So we would be discussing all other aspects of how, especially how we can do this. Let me show you the objective of the session we previously shared with you. So as you can see over here, the questions we decided in our objective over there. So reflecting on existing teaching practices, we did it. Why STEAM education is needed in our school, we watched video. And through this video, we have further developing our understanding. And now we have to start discussion how teacher can start teaching STEAM in their classroom. So let me come up with the how to get started with this STEAM. So this is the question that must be in your mind, that after having this discussion, perhaps we would be asking ourselves. So before we get started with this team, so we would be having some points in our mind. So as you can see, how to start keeping it with simple formula. Make sure goals are clear. Goals means your objective of lesson. Begin with mini lessons. Change your questions. The type of questions we quite often ask ourselves when we plan our lessons, and the questions we ask our students. So we have to look at both the questions. Keep supplies on hand because we must be having something for our students to work on, and try using kits. The kits means the type of, you see, resources. Before we, in a few moments, we would be, you see, running out of time. So I would request our participants to please, using the same link, join our session. So these were the things which you have to keep in your mind. There is a myth that younger students can't do STEAM. That is wrong. They are equipped for hands-on learning, which will jumpstart their STEAM knowledge for later grades. So at the grassroots level, they must have something on their hand, you see, so that they would know what they have to do. There are few steps we have to follow. These steps, as you can see on your screen, choose a topic. As you can see, STEAM is great for integration. Choose a reading, language arts, or social studies concept that needs to be covered, and prioritize your goals, frame your objectives, and you have to see how you can involve your students. It could be a sort of, you see, project. It could be a sort of group work. So you have to decide your objective with. Second step is find a STEAM concept. Brainstorm STEAM activities that go with your topic. So while you would be brainstorming your activities, what sort of topic and their further subtopics. For example, we can make a graph or engineer related structures or do a case study. That is second step. When we go to third step, that is enrich learning, reflecting on lesson. Research shows that integrated curriculum increases students' learning. So these three steps we follow: choosing topic, find STEAM concepts, and enrich learning. So these are the three steps we have to follow. What types of projects we can bring in when we talk about projects? So first example is students learning by doing. We can bring in a lot of material according to your topic, according to your subjects. Say in science, you can talk about, you see, zoology or botany. In science, you can bring in something related to your topic. Group work usually encourage students. When we ask our students to sit in group and you devise your, you see, activity, define your roles and responsibility for each and every student. So that provide them with roles and responsibility. Actively discover how things work, because if you ask them to go in the garden and collect few flowers having some characteristics, that would be one activity when you involve in projects and they go there and they collect some information. Another maybe example, going to library, provide them with a task that this is the task and these are your roles, responsibility, collect data, sort out that data, how you are going to present that data. That is another, you see, group activity. Here, supplies is necessary. What type of resources, what type of stationery, what things they would be needed at that stage. When we talk about inquiry based, it starts with engagement, a question or problem. You provide them with a question, a task which they have to answer, and related that question, you probe some, start giving them with some probing question. Here, teacher is a guide, and you have to perform your role. Natural way to learn is, you see, the next thing, because in books they only have text, they don't have experience of interacting with their environment. So in that way, you provide them with real environment. What other things are required? Require active ongoing assessment to avoid misconceptions. You have to check their understanding by asking questions, how they can bring in some new, you see, new things they haven't heard about. Another thing is process based, because why we are saying process based is students use a concept to solve a problem. They have tasks which they have to complete, and they have concepts to understand. Unless or until you devise specific systematic tasks and divide among students or a group, that would not be, you see, become process oriented. So in order to make it process based, you have to involve them in problem solving activities. Closely relate to how real STEAM carriers work when they are going to complete their work, what they would be doing, where they would be using that sort of knowledge. That is another question there you have to ask your students, because they would be deciding their career path, what they are going to do, what they are going to become, and how they are going to become that sort of you see, profession. You have to create routines for STEAM lessons, because once a week or twice a week, or having some, you see, regular practice, then it would become a constant practice. Otherwise, in bits and pieces, that would not consolidate their learning and your teaching, of course. When we talk about material and supplies, it means repurpose of supplies you already have, or repropose supplies you already have, because unless or until you know what is in your hand, you would not be able to do it. There are a lot of people, there are a lot of institutions, they got a lot of things, they have a lot of you see, material with them, but sometimes we have our own resources, natural resources we have. It depends upon what type of task you devise for them. Plan ahead and send home notes for supplies from. You may ask parents of your children, so that they would start cooperating with you, sending something which is already present at their home. So that is another way. Keep basics on hand: pop, skills, sticks, batteries, magnets, measurement tool, duct tape, contain sticky notes. These are the other things which they would be coming up with, because these are the things which are easily available, and they would be coming up with them when they would be coming back from their home. Take advantage of online and community funding. You see, online, there are online courses, there are online community funding available. Those institutions, those schools, they are very much connected with such type of you see, agencies, they can do it easily. Extra tips. Girls may be more motivated by the outcome rather than the process. Focus on both, because sometimes it seems that girls, they are more, you see, active rather than boys. So you can take advantage of that. Stay safety conscious. Consider safety precautions for every project, because there are chances that students would be might get hurt when they go outside, when they go to gardens. They might hurt themselves. So you must consider those things. Connect with the local market spaces, the community meetups for ideas, support, and resources. Of course, if you are connected with internet, if you are connected with Google, you can always get access to Google. You can always can get access to different resources through internet. For example, browsing online resources like MakerEd, that is a well-known website, inspectionables for ideas. So you can have a lot of ideas over there, education grants to fund your projects, or you can use your own, you see, resources. STEM projects may take a lot of time, but are worth it in the long run. Try kids to cut down on planning. So these are the other, you see, things we can think about. Okay, so these were the things. We would be having question answer now. We would be having question answer now. So while the other people's join, let other people join, because still there are people who are joining. So what can we do in that particular situation? Anas is asking about clicking on the form of feedback. People are still joining. So we would be talking about, we would be having question answers over here. So in chat box, please raise your hand and say something, or
Bahkan beli nggak?
okay, so Noshin saying it was informative and interesting webinar about STEM education. Okay. There are still people joining. Let the people join. Okay. So start asking questions if you have any queries in your mind. If you think that that's supposed to be, you see, discuss, then please.
Jadi malu baby.
There is a link in the chat box. Please click on it and please provide feedback of the session. But before that is the last activity. But if you think there's something which you want to do, go ahead.
Nah, Kadang.
People have their microphone on. Please mute them. Their microphones are on. Please put on your microphone on mute. And in case you want to ask something, then you can put them on.
ચાર છે
ફેમિલી વાળા ગ્રુપ મેં WhatsApp કર્યો છે બા.
ચાર ને પછી
ચાર થી ને 10 મિનિટ
હા જાની તું મારી ની દાદી વાળી બોલો
તો
બેઠે છે
ના
માતા
મજા ન
There are people who are still joining because unfortunately the time was up and we, due to shortage of time, we could not continue. And the rest of the webinar, we are asking people to come up with their queries, questions they have in their mind. If you have any question, if you have any questions regarding the session, anything related to the things we share, the tips we share about the, topic. And if you think that you don't have any questions, everything was there, then please click on the form and start filling it up so that you can submit it. Okay, Humera saying I could not attend such a nice webinar due to net service. That's right. But you can get access to the recording of the webinar if you have missed some of the portion of the webinar, and that is what you can do when you visit. You see, as you can see on your screen, you can visit our website. You can click on our website, or you can just subscribe our channel visiting YouTube SIPD Rashidabad. There could be recordings available, or you can visit www.sipd.org.pk, where you can get access to the recording of the webinar. In case you have missed something which was quite, you think that quite important and you missed it, then you can get access to it. Thanks, Farhan. Thanks, Umara Farhan, for the comments, for the positive comments. And persons who have their mic, please put your mic on mute.